Welcome, my name is Tisharna and this is StarMade. I wanted to begin this episode with just showing off some of the contest entries for the factory build that I've got loaded up here in this sector. And it's not all of them, because this is already straining my CPU to load all these entities. And I know I'm a big contributor to all the docked entities with my own chip, but yeah, together this is really straining my game. But yeah, I quite like how all the entries are quite different from each other. And I think the judges will have a very hard time to review all these ships. They're probably going to need a single episode per ship by some of those entries' size and complexity. So I wish them all the luck with that. But let's start this episode properly, because the entry date for this particular build initiative is closing today. So we can concentrate on other things again. This episode is going to be a ship showcase episode, or I should say more of a ship building consultancy video. I was sent this prototype blueprint of this frigate, and it was built by AEquilibrium. And this is one of the earlier versions that was sent to me, because I do have a later version of this ship. Some work was done over the last week to build out some of the features. And I was asked to give my opinion on this particular ship. At first glance, when you look at it, it has a very interesting shape. It's got this more or less lengthwise design with this bulbous head at the front. Reminds me a bit of the frigates in Homeworld, but this design have these wing bits on the side, with all the turrets docked to it, and then the engines strapped to the wing bits. There's one problem I already noticed, that the bridge section over here is basically looking straight at the back of this turret. So the windows don't serve a real purpose in this particular setup. But if you basically enlarge the bridge section or place it higher, then that probably is not going to be an issue. So that's something you can use. I was told that this is a frigate that is more or less purposed to have a lot of firepower at the front. So basically sort of a class cannon ID. Have a lot of firepower put into the target, and then bug out to do another run at a different time. So the strange bit about this is that, because this is the philosophy behind the ship, as you can see here when I get closer, the whole ship is built from advanced hull. So if you know that the setup for armor in the current version of StarMade, basically advanced hull provides a lot of protection, or at least armor protection, but not a lot of health. So if this setup is as it is now is hit by a missile, then a lot of these blocks will be damaged. The main setup for hull right now is basically have this very basic hull at the outer edge of your build, and then have the intermediate or advanced hull behind it to provide the armor rating and then support for the outer hull. But especially in smaller ships, I wouldn't call this specifically a small ship, but it's not that big either. If you want to have layered armor, you can, but it will make this ship quite heavy. So my first recommendation would be to switch to a different armor type. Just go for the intermediate type stuff instead of the advanced hull. I think that would work out a bit better system-wise and also weight-wise, because this is going to be quite a heavy little ship if you only use the advanced stuff. But let me load up the next version of the ship that I was sent, because there's a lot more work done on that prototype than on this version of the ship. So let me get that first. And as you can see here, a lot of work was done already on this ship. A lot more of the red armor is now in the back section and wing section of the ship as well. And it looks a lot more complete, a lot more put together. You can also see that the bridge design has changed quite a bit, using some of the darker contrasting colors, and a bit more detail was added. And especially the interior has changed quite a lot, because there was no interior on the previous version, and this one already has a bridge design inside. And in the back here, there was started work on some sort of hangar bay by the looks of it. And I did take a look at some of the logic in here, because some sort of ideas were going on here to have some sort of logic system in here with doors, etc. But yeah, I'm trying to figure out what exactly the idea behind this is. I think this is just temporary logic. Yeah, it's something I do myself as well, just to control the doors, etc. So you have the small hangar and then the ship platform. I'm not sure if this works. No, that doesn't. So that isn't linked up yet. But basically this is, I think, the rotating points for doors over here. But I'm not sure if they, yeah, I think they only rotate downwards. So I think I need this one. No, on this side perhaps. Doesn't rotate either. This one. Oh, okay, it's the top one. Yeah, it rotates downwards. So this is basically a small hangar access door. Although swinging them down like that, especially if you look at these controls over here, this is a good way to basically get a big door on top of your head. I'm not sure if that's the best way to swing them, especially if you have something ducked in here. Then how is that going to interfere with, yeah, it's basically going to hit everything that's docked in this particular location. So I don't think that's the best way to add these doors, but we'll get back to that later. Speaking about the outer shell of this ship, because I haven't really talked about it that much yet, I quite like how the detailing is done, especially this front bit. This is the most put together, most done part of the ship. But there's still some sections that need work. For example, this front bit with the lighter gray color. I'm not exactly sure what the plan is for this section, but it's not done by the looks of it. And at the bottom of the ship there's a big hole, so this is a whole section that still needs something here. And in my opinion, it needs to be something that balances out the bridge section, so something that protrudes down into the space below. And you can still make use of that for additional turrets as well, I think. But I'll leave that up to the author. I like the engine setup as well, although how it's connected to this wingy bit is a bit strange, because it's basically protruding out of the bottom part of the wing. So it's sort of a grip on the top part of the engine pod. But it still needs to be a lot more detailed, basically the same way as the front section was done. Because, yeah, like I said, I like the front section, so basically continue this type of detail to the rest of the ship, and you're golden. That's basically it for the exterior. It's fine the way it is for that part. What's not, in my opinion, that fine is basically this back part over here. This eyes very messily, in my opinion, because of all the different steps to get this shape within your ship. It looks a bit messy. There's different ways to do it. I will show you a way I would do it, but like I said, there's different ways to do it. Using different basic shapes to get a complex shape is the main way I usually tend to do it. And like I said, the bottom is not done yet, so I can't say much about that. but yeah, I like the engines at the back here with the exhaust over here with these shapes. It gives a lot of depth, lots of details to look at, so that's quite nice. On the inside, this hangar bay basically continues on to different floors that are more or less empty, with the big elevator here in the middle, then these glass panels on this floor. This quite reminds me a bit of the Cyclops in Subnautica. Basically, you have this docking bay at the bottom where you can dock your CMOD or your plant suit. Then you have these glass panels to look down into the docking bay itself. But this leads on to one of the major problems this ship has: core placement. This is where the core is, basically over here behind these walls. This is quite awkward in the placement of this particular block because it's very hard to move. Yeah, this is a main problem for many builders, I think. You start a ship, you place your core, you don't know exactly where it's going to be, and then it's ending up in a very awkward position, and then you have this whole ship built around it. And now what do I do? Because you start on the interior and then you need to access the core, and it's not really in a very good position. So that's why I always recommend to either start with your bridge, just place the core in the bridge section, or start with a dedicated core room and build from there, because this is going to be a pain where it is now. Yeah, I will show you a method to rectify this as well, because it is not impossible, but the larger the ship gets, the more impossible it gets. So it's a very important first step to work with. Like I said, we have this elevator here as well, a nice red one, but I don't think the logic works. No, it's not. It's also, yeah, docked with the rail inside the basically the elevator shaft itself. So it's, yeah, this basically hurts me. This can be done better. And if you go below this, there's a lot of empty space still that we can fill with decks or systems, and a bit of logic that I assume this is the docking platform that was talked about in the controls in the docking part above. See if it works or not. Ship platform. Press. Yeah. It's nice, but this way it moves. Yeah, this hurts my soul. Yeah, it's a bit awkward. Okay, well, this is nice. They have the second platform that basically fills up this space, but yeah, it's nice, but it's also makes it look like you can still land here, but that's not possible, because, or at least I don't think so. Or perhaps the idea is to have this one out here, so you can dock something out here, and then the small dock to dock something inside. But then you don't have to retract the platform, because otherwise you crush the dock ship. Or why don't you have just a dedicated docking point at the back of the ship anyway? Why do you need the platform? I'm not exactly sure what the idea behind this is. It looks intriguing, because having this platform basically being raised at an angle, that's something you don't normally see all that much, but it can be done in a different way. Yeah, I think I'm getting ideas here. So let's grab a copy of this ship and let's do some experimenting. And here we are. And you might think, okay, you made it worse. What's with all these scaffolding type lines around this ship? Well, this is basically me proving a point. I just left this in to illustrate what I did. Because I mentioned from the original ship that there were two bigger issues with this design, basically the hull types and the placement of the core. And this is me trying to fix that. Yeah, the hull types, I just replaced everything with different hull types, so this is quite a lot lighter. right now. So yeah, it's probably a couple of replacement issues that need to be fixed, but most of it is already done. It's just basically the copy of the remove replace trick you can do in StarMade. But this entire scaffolding is basically meant to move the core. That's what this yellow line up the top here is for. This is basically me calculating where I need to move everything to, because now the core is here in the bridge, basically in front of the captain's chair. It's a nice location, I think. And basically what I did is I get the old core placement over here, and then basically build these yellow blocks to calculate the distance where I wanted to go, and then make the same distance for my copy of the ship. Oh, and an AI ship basically rammed the original one by the looks of it. And then basically made a big copy of the entire ship, and then removed everything and then replaced it at the new location. And you can see that I couldn't copy everything. It was just falling short this part for the gun barrels, but these gun barrels you can just copy on their own and then place them back on the location you want them to be. But the main part of the ship is now in the correct location, in my opinion. So you have a lot more freedom now with your interior, because you don't have to worry about your core placement anymore, because it's now part of the bridge itself. As you can see here inside the bridge, I made a small change as well. I don't think I showed it on the original one, but there was this second level in the original ship. Let me quickly write that one. But that's more or less fixed. But this is the original bridge. So like I said, there was this second level at the bridge here with the window, but there's no way to get here, just a lot of computers. Yeah, perhaps you can raise this chair with some sort of logic, but yeah, it's not really a level that has any purpose. So that's why I wanted to change that as well. And here is the bridge with changes. So basically a sort of catwalk at the second level, so you can walk around here. Exchange the lights a bit, because you're probably going to bump your head with the original setup. But there's no way to get up here, so probably a ladder at the back or something like that could help with that. But I didn't really implement that. Yeah, the rest of the bridge is basically the same, except for this temporary yellow line. That still needs to be removed. But like I said, I left that in for illustrated purposes. But the main change I made in this part of the ship is the elevator. Now it's a door and working logic. So if we press this one, then the elevator will rise up to this level. There we go. And this is the setup I was going with. Basically, have these red carriage section of the elevator, and then have a button for up and down on the left and right side of the elevator carriage, because there was no way to do that within the elevator itself with the old setup. The logic wasn't really set up correctly, or at all. I think that was still very much a work in progress in that aspect. So no blame there. I did move the docked rail over here to the side, basically between the walls, to have this this rail carriage docked outside of the actual interior, so you can't see it. And as you can see here, I set it up for a whole bunch of different levels, even the levels that are still not there. And I went with the setup that there's only a door going to be on the front or the back side of the elevator shaft. So in the access and interior over here, you can see that the doors are the front and the back, and then the side are basically closed off with this grate. So this allows you to have a consistent way to get on and off the elevator. And I also implemented all the buttons for each level on both sides, so you can just press them when you need them, and it will go to that particular level. And then, of course, the buttons inside the elevator is the standard one level up or one level down. Yeah, basically boils down to the logic repeating as you can see over here, just the 3 buttons over here to get the rails all the way from the top to this level or the bottom to this level, and then one in the middle to the side, so it stops at that particular level. Not that complicated. And then just for the up and down, I have got this setup over here with the remote buttons that basically flip the rail to the up or down position, and then all the levels to the side with a small delay. So this is a very basic standard elevator setup I usually do. And it's important to get this section done first, because this is basically how you can design all your other levels around it, and then have this fixed point in your interior. I haven't changed all that much in the rest of the interior over here, because I wanted to concentrate on this back section over here, this docking area that was built within the original design. Because like I said, in my opinion, it was a bit messy, especially in the back section over here. And as you can see here, I changed it quite a bit. Basically cleaned up the armor lines, and then, like I said, using the clean lined versions of shapes to get a more complex shape. So it's still got this protruding back section over here, but it looks in lines a lot cleaner, because all these different elements you follow basically make up the complete shape of the ship. You can add all kinds of little details to that, like this here, and this piece of armor, to make it a bit more detailed. I also changed up the whole door setup for this. I've got this sliding door over here now for our smaller dock, and then this flex door for our elevator type docking pad. So let's start with the most basic one. Press this button and this door opens. It's basically a way to get into the dock, and you can already see the landing pad looks a bit different than the setup that I have in the original ship I was sent over there. This is a 45-degree angle elevator now. So if I press this button, this opens up, and you can see the platform rises at a 45-degree angle to the top. And this looks a lot smoother now than basically the janky Z-type movement that it was making. This has its drawbacks as well, of course, because it isn't really possible to get it really flush with the other blocks within the ship, so you have to design around that. But I think this is good enough for I think the setup that was needed. And below here you can see that there is a space spared out where this docking pad is going to retract to, and I've got some very basic detailing going on within this hangar space. And I move the buttons over here. Yeah, also a minor gripe I had with the original setup. The buttons were switched in that other setup, so ship platform should be left, in my opinion, and small hangar on the right, because that's the position they are in within the hangar space itself. Yeah, did some temporary studs over here to make it look like the platform is moving along that structure. But it's actually not, because below here I've got all the docked entities over here, because this is the setup I made to make this work. So basically you have a number of docked entities. A docked entity for this long rail over here to move it at an angle. So then you have an entity docked to that rail to be able to move to that side. Then another docked entity to basically rotate everything 45 degrees again to make the platform straight. And this works all with the setup over here with the remote connection. So it works, but yeah, remote connections are always a bit buggy sometimes. But in this case, yeah, it worked out. So if we press it again, you can see it from the inside. The platform moves along the structures over here to the bottom, and yeah, perhaps you can even speed up the platform as well with your docking speed. And then this key fits within this this space over here. You can basically dock your ships over here. Yeah, the Black Store is connected to this docking point over here. So when it's all the way down, then the Black Store of the top part over here closes. Yeah, the original one didn't have a door in there, so I just assumed there's something should close it off. So I went with this setup. And then of course we have this small hangar door here for the controls as well, with the doors closing like this. So this is quite a neat little hangar space. I cleaned up this back as well with just the 45-degree angles. Looks a lot neater. Just some temporary basic lighting setup and detailing. But yeah, this could use a lot more detailing work if you really want, or you can leave it like this if that's what you like. But yeah, I think this works out quite nicely. The only thing that I'm not sure about is if you use this ship platform and it moves like this and you have something docked in here, if it's going to hit this edge or not. I don't think it is. Depends a bit on how big your docked entity is, because yeah, this part is basically empty, so that can be used to move along this angle. But yeah, it is a concern that you have to test out depending on the ship you're going to dock here. But I think this is the idea the author had for this particular docking area, at least I hope. So that's my little contribution to this ship design. I will send the copy of this blueprint to the author to work on, see if they use it or not. But that's yeah, completely up to them. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and let me know what you think. I'll see you next time.